Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm on a 2022 Honda CBR650R. Let's go ahead and check this thing out. Welcome back everyone. I am back out here in Southern California, and first of all, a big shout out to the team at Honda of North America for making this whole thing happen and for obviously giving me a 2022 Honda CBR650R for the week to test and review. Honestly, I've been wanting to ride one of these for quite some time now, so this is definitely very exciting. But let's get this out of the way first. So this is a 2022. It is basically a brand new bike because it does have very few miles on it, but it is a 2022. So let me explain why, and this is significant. So Honda at the moment did not have any 2023s in their press fleet for me to check out. Hey, the boys. Actually, I don't even know these guys, but what's up, guys? They're on bikes, so they're the boys. Really, the only difference between the 23 and the 22 is the color. So the 23 comes in that red color with the white and the blue accents, whereas the 22, as you can see here, is black. All right, let's open up this baby a little bit and see what she can do. I hope that guy didn't think I was trying to race him. I just saw a nice straight road. Other than that, there are really no differences in the two bikes. So this is, even though it's a 2022, the latest US version of this bike. Now the US part is important because you might be asking yourself, well, wait, I thought the 2024 was a different design, and that you are right about. But the 2024, which has been updated and has some key changes, is only currently available, or at least at the time of this recording, available in Europe or Japan. I forget if it was both or just Europe. But either way, not available in the States. So as of right now, this 2022, the same as a 2023, is the newest current version of the CBR650R in America. Now, if you're wondering what the difference is in the 2024, I haven't done the full research yet, so I don't know 100%, but at first glance, I've noticed a couple of things. One, there's an updated dashboard. There's an entirely new fairing design, which makes the bike actually look more like a Fireblade, which I think is really cool for a 650. And then obviously there's going to be some other tweaks as well. I won't get too far into the 2024 because I do want to save that for, if and when in the future I get a chance to actually ride a 24. So we're going to focus on the 2022/23 today. But with that being said, if I do get a chance to ride the 24 in the future, I think this current edition will be a great baseline to judge that one off of. So let's go ahead and give this one a try and see how we like it. All right, now before we get too far out into the road, let's go ahead and take a look at this bike from the outside and break this beauty down. So looking at this bike for 2022, the only color available is this black matte metallic color. As the name implies, this is a 650cc motorcycle, or more accurately, it's a 649cc. It is a dual overhead cam, liquid cooled inline 4. It does have a 6-speed manual, 41mm Showa forks in the front with a single Showa shock in the back. You do get dual radial mounted 4-piston Nissan calipers in the front. They are going to be 310mm discs with ABS, and then in the rear you do get a single piston caliper with the 240mm disc, again with ABS. Overall tank size is 4.1 gallons, and the bike as a whole weighs 456 pounds. This is a little bit heavier than some of its competition, but still not too heavy. Overall power from that inline 4 is going to be 93.8 horsepower, might as well just call that 94, and then torque is going to be 46.4 foot-pounds of torque. At the time of this recording, this bike does retail for $9,799 US. Obviously pricing changes in different areas, countries, all that kind of good stuff, but it gives you a rough baseline of what this bike costs. All right, with all the specs out of the way, let's go ahead and hit the road and give you guys a little bit of a rundown. So it feels really good to be back out here. I'm a big fan of riding out here in SoCal. First and foremost, the scenery is great. Some of the twisty roads are great, and then obviously some of the motorcycle laws are great, so definitely do enjoy riding out here. Okay, so before actually getting on this bike, here's some of my initial thoughts. So right off the bat, I expected it to be fun. I also expected it to sound great. Obviously, an inline 4 normally sounds great, at least in my opinion, so definitely was expecting that. I did worry about the bike being just a little bit heavy at 456 pounds with roughly 94 horses. For reference, my personal bike weighs about 50 pounds less and makes about 35 horses more. So that is something I'll be kind of thinking about as I ride this bike in a comparison, if you will. And then lastly, and this is basically every text-based or video-based review that I've seen on this bike, is that it's considered more of a laid-back sport bike, not really a super sport. And some people went as far as calling it a dad or an old man sport bike. So yeah, let's see how that goes. And as a dad myself, I don't consider myself old, but you know, as a dad, I may appreciate the fact that it's a dad sport bike. So let's go ahead and check it out. Well, it looks like I might get rained on a little bit. It's already kind of starting to sprinkle. I wasn't really expecting that when I left this morning. It seemed a little gloomy, as you guys can see, but it was supposed to be dry. But hopefully it's a quick sprinkle and it goes away. But anyway, all right. So initial impressions is that I like how it looks. The sound is as expected. It's really nice, thanks to that inline four. And so far, initial feeling is that the 456-pound weight really isn't a problem. It doesn't feel heavy. It feels comfortable. The power feels really good. Kind of the power-to-weight ratio seems, you know, what I would want it to be. You do have to rev it up a bit more than other bikes that I've ridden, but that's pretty typical of most inline fours. And that's really a part of the appeal to me of riding a motorcycle is high revving, and also definitely a part of the appeal of having an inline four. So not really a deal breaker for me. Now, having ridden a few other 600 Super Sports, I can 100% agree that this is a dad sport bike, if you will. I should probably stop saying that because it sounds almost like a bad thing, but I promise it's not. Let me explain that. So, I 100% mean that in a good way. What I mean by that is I don't actually really like Super Sports, especially not for long rides. They're very uncomfortable, and they're very the riding position is so aggressive. Like, their only focus is to be fast. They don't really take into consideration at all the rider comfort or how you feel on the bike. And so that's why personally I'm not a huge fan of Super Sports. They're just like too aggressive, you know what I mean? And so this bike is not that, which is great because it's still, it's still fun. It's still aggressive enough to have fun on. It's sporty enough. You're sitting in a way where, you can handle in a sporty manner. You can carve canyons. You can, do all the things that you want a sport bike to do. But then at the same time, it's relaxed enough to where, my back doesn't hurt. I have a history of having a bad back, so a sport bike that doesn't hurt my back is awesome. You're relaxed enough to where if you're stuck in traffic, if you're doing a longer distance ride, if you're commuting, through urban areas back and forth to work, it's comfortable enough to do that. So in my opinion, it's kind of the best of both worlds because you can have your sport and be comfortable too. I feel like I was going to make a cake reference there, but I didn't know how to deliver it, so I'll just not. But long story short, best of both worlds, right? You get the sportiness that you're looking for in a sport bike without the back-breaking pain of a super sport. So far, 2 thumbs up. Really happy with what's happening so far. All right, so right off the bat, looking at this dash, it just screams 80s to me. Like, I feel like I should be playing like Tetris or Snake on it. For those of you who are too young to understand that reference, Google it, right? That's the part about riding a dad sport bike that I was not hoping to line up to here. This thing is, it's not good. It's clearly the dated part of this motorcycle. Looking at it, it just doesn't look like it belongs in a 2022. So that's obviously an area of improvement that's needed. Outside of that, there's really not a lot going on here. There's not a ton of adjustment from the suspension standpoint. Very minimal, in fact. There's no quick shifter. There's no riding modes. It's pretty basic stuff, to be honest. It seems more old school and analog than most of the current bikes that I have ridden. When I look at some of this bike's competition, this definitely seems more, I think old school and analog is a good way to put it. But I'm not 100% sure that it's necessarily a bad thing. But with that being said, though, let me shut down the talking for a second and let's focus on some riding. Alright, so that was actually really fun. I have to say I am really enjoying this 2022 Honda CBR650R. It really is like a comfortable sport bike, and I mean I genuinely feel comfortable on it. I've already been on it for a few hours now, and I still feel good. And the cool thing is that being comfortable isn't negatively impacting the sport or the fun factor. So it's still plenty fun. It's still more than, sporty, but it's not painfully so like a super sport. So when you look at it from like a street perspective, it's more fun and more sport than you can ever use on the street while still being comfortable. Alright, so I will start off by saying that I desperately need to ride the 2024 model. I am really excited to see how the changes improve it over this 2022 version, which is a reminder that this 2022 version is the same as the 2023, minus the red color or black color depending on the year. Alright, so let's start with the recap here. So the CBR650R, in my opinion, is a great bike, honestly a really great bike, and it's sporty enough to have fun. As you guys can see, it accelerates quite well, but it will not break your back or make you uncomfortable like a 600 Super Sport would. Super Sports are great for the track, but are just hard to live with in normal day-to-day street riding, and I feel that the CBR650R takes some of that fun and excitement of said 600cc Super Sport, but then puts it in a package that is much easier to live with when it comes to street riding, day-to-day commuting, and basically every type of riding that is off the track. Also, as a person that isn't exactly old, but isn't super young either. Well, I mean, I'm only 37, but, sometimes my body acts 57. Going through chemo and surviving cancer will do that to you, but I do appreciate the overall comfort and the ergonomics, and I like knowing that I can have a ton of fun without breaking my back. So, you might be asking yourself, what's so fun and great about this bike? Well, first of all, it has an inline 4. I could literally just stop right there. If you have a chance to get a 4, you get a 4. Simple as that. They sound really good, they rev really high, and along with triples, they are my favorite type of motorcycle engines. So for me, that's a win. Also, this particular inline 4 can be had for under 10K. That's right, the starting price of the CBR650R is $9,899, so it's super rare to get an inline 4 for under 10K. Additionally, that inline 4 does make good power at 94 horses and 46.5 foot-pounds of torque. Yeah, I agree those numbers are not super sport numbers, but for a bike that only weighs 445 pounds, it's definitely more than enough to let you have some good serious fun on the streets without obviously getting you in too much trouble. So the engine delivers plenty of power. It really sounds great too. Honestly, it's one of the best sounding stock bikes that I've heard, and I'm really surprised that Honda let it be this loud for a factory bike. I absolutely love it. Alright, so what else? Well, none of the specs look crazy good on paper. Suspension, brakes, all the different categories. Nothing is really top shelf or top tier, but yet when all combined and working together, everything is more than good enough to make you happy for under 10K. I think the two main things that really make this bike great are balance and being analog. Let's talk balance. So everything works well together. The before mentioned parts really add up to the sum is greater than its part situation, and the handling, power, braking, everything is good enough to work together. There isn't one category that is clearly lacking, which is great, as that really lets you push the bike and enjoy it. Again, the balance is fantastic. Now let's talk about the second thing. Let's talk about being analog. In a world where bikes are getting too techy and too fancy and sometimes downright numb feeling as they are overly computerized, the Honda CBR650R really keeps things simple. You get ABS and a simple traction control system, and that's it. No, seriously, that's it. There are no rider modes, no rider aids, super minimal intervention, no apps, anything. It's just you and the bike and riding. For some, this will be a problem, as they will say that the bike is lagging its competition in tech. And that is a fair statement, but to me, in a way, that is what makes this bike great and unique, especially in this price range. Alright, so with all that praise, not everything is perfect. Right off the bat, the dash really has to go. It is extremely dated, and it is quite small. And I'm not begging for more tech here, but still, an update is needed, and I would really like a bigger screen as well. Honda could keep it simple, and still keep that analog feeling, but still improve over the current setup. And speaking of dated, I can see how some would not appreciate the analog feel and would say that for the money, it's really lagging behind its competition. For example, the Suzuki GSX-8R is priced about the same, but it receives a much better dash, rider modes, and other adjustments, and an up and down quick shifter as standard as well. What that basically means is that for some, it might be hard to pony up that amount of money and get such a minimal setup. Alright, so let's wrap this one up. Overall, I think the CBR650R is a great bike and I've really enjoyed my time on it. But looking at it and judging it for what it actually is, I think it does a lot of things right. I also think that it hangs on a lot closer to its competition, specifically the 2024 and 2025 models, than most are willing to give it credit for. With that said though, let's answer the two most important questions. The first one, is it a bike worth buying? And second, would I spend my own money on it? Now, sometimes these questions have very different answers, but in this case, they are exactly the same, so I'll go ahead and answer them all at once. No, you shouldn't, and it's not worth buying. Harsh, I know, but that is the truth. Now, it's not what you think. I'm simply saying that the 2022, and by the extension the 2023, are not worth buying, and I wouldn't buy them with my own money. What I am saying, though, is that you should wait for a 2024 model, as the dash improvements alone make it better, not to mention all the other changes and updates coming. As for whether I would buy the 2024, well, I'll save that judgment for when I get a chance to ride one and review one. Alright, so long story short, I wouldn't buy the quote-unquote outdated model, as I do think the changes are significant, but I would also not completely dismiss the CBR650R and would say that 100% the updated 2024 model is worth checking out. Alright, those are my thoughts on the 2022 Honda CBR650R. Let me know in the comments below if you agree or disagree, or what your thoughts are in general. Again, I thoroughly enjoyed riding this bike, and once again, shout out to the team at Honda of North America for letting me borrow it for a while. Alright guys and gals, that's it for our review of the 2022 Honda CBR650R. Be sure to visit Motorcyclegear.com, as we would love to help you out with your motorcycle gear needs. You can also hit us up via phone or email, and if you'd like to share your thoughts on this video or the CBR650R, feel free to drop a comment down below. Thank you all for watching. Till next time.